the time, as an independent consultant, I'm working from home, but at that house, it was the laundry room. So it's not like this great work from home experience. That's when I learned just how much laundry is done in a house with 3 small children and 5 people.
I didn't know that this happened.
I didn't realize that those machines ran all day. And that's my bad. But once I moved my desk into the laundry room, I learned like, oh man, there's so much laundry to be done, and I really wish I had somewhere to work.
What's up, guys? We're back. It's the Best Midland Texas Podcast. I'm Ryan Shewchuck. This is my lovely wife and co-host, Terra Avery. This is the show where we interview small business owners, entrepreneurs, and personalities right here in the best city, Midland, Texas. We have some amazing guests, husband and wife team, partner/managing partner of Second Story Coworking Space. Yes, there's a coworking space in Midland, Texas, and it's awesome. Brian and Kelly Davis are here today. Brian, you have a software development background. You're CTO of another company. Kelly, marketing background. You actually have another company called Easy Cheesy Photos, which we got to experience last night. Super cool. So we'll get into it, but obviously we're going to talk about Second Story Coworking Space and just the history of it and where it's going next. So, Kelly and Brian, thank you so much for being on our show today.
Man, thank you so much for having us.
Of course. Let's just start right off. How did you decide to create a co-working space in Midland?
Sure. Like most things, by accident.
All good things, right?
Yeah, sure. All good things by accident. It was more of a need of a workspace than a desire to create a co-working space. So there's 2 other partners in the business, Joe Ayler, Daryl Dutton. And in 2018, Joe and I actually don't even really know each other yet. Kelly and Joe's wife are friends, but we haven't really hung out. But we're both doing work with Daryl, just kind of side gigs and stuff. And Daryl he really had this vision. He didn't even really know that it was called co-working, but this vision of a bunch of different, for him it was creatives that were all officing in the same space so that you could use each other's services as needed. And that for him it was all about, because he's also an agency guy, and so it was all about creatives. And so he's like, man, what if we had all these offices and there was a photographer and there was a copywriter and there was a graphic designer and there was a web designer, and like, what if they were all officing in the same space? And so Joe had worked at co-working spaces in other big cities, and he was like, yeah, so co-working. He's like, oh yeah, sure, yeah, co-working. So we just kind of talked around it for months, I guess. And one day, Daryl is meeting with Wes Perry, who owns Midland Tower, and Wes is really big into like getting downtown to pop at this time. This is 2018. Wes, do you have any vacancy in any of your buildings or in this building here? Like we have this idea for all these offices coming together. And Wes had actually already invested in a co-working space in Santa Fe, so he knew exactly what he was talking about. And he said, yeah, man, I've got the second floor over here. It's wide open. I would love to have that kind of thing downtown to bring people down here. And that's kind of the genesis of it. From there, we say, okay, is this really going to happen? I mean, we don't have any money. Like, how's this going to work?
Sure.
But it all started coming together, and we started meeting with architects and kind of put the whole thing together. We met with a great interior designer, Kylie New, who unfortunately doesn't live here anymore because we need her services all the time. But she was our interior designer, and all these pieces just started falling into place. But we really just needed a place to work. At the time, as an independent consultant, I'm working from home, but at that house, it was the laundry room. So it's not like this great work from home experience. It's like, that's when I learned just how much laundry is done in a house with 3 small children and 5 people.
I didn't know that this happened.
I didn't realize that those machines ran all day. And that's my bad. But once I moved my desk into the laundry room, I learned like, oh man, there's so much laundry to be done, and I really wish I had somewhere to work. We went and visited co-working spaces. But at that point, okay, how are we going to do this? How are we going to do this in Midland? And so we started visiting, and we went to co-working spaces all across the country. I mean, as far west as Phoenix. And then we got to actually go to some in New York City, like the Mecca, the original WeWork co-working Mecca in New York. And we visited them there and all between, a bunch in Dallas, to just try to get a feel of how are people doing this and how is it working. And so like, okay, yeah, we can do this in Midland. And we wanted it to feel like those places. We didn't know at the time that how different Midland was culturally. Yeah. As far as shared workspace, Midland is still very much, most people are very private.
4 walls and a door.
Yeah, and because they're doing deals, and a lot of the co-working spaces in the big metro areas, it is creatives. That's who's there.
Mm-hmm.
We have creatives here, but we also have landmen and we also have oil companies and we have people that really value privacy more. So it's an interesting mix of how do you do that here. But we still think we're the only true co-working space in Midland. At the time, we were the only single office leasing, kind of executive office leasing. Regis really started that a long time ago with the idea of renting a single office in a big space. And Regis does that globally, and they do it everywhere. And way before co-working and WeWork came along. So no one was doing that either. So that's part of what we do. But we're still, and a lot of people are doing that now in Midland, but we're still the only place that has like this co-working element of like, there's this big open space, there's flat surfaces with outlets everywhere. It feels nice, like you enjoy being there. There's an atmosphere, there's an ambiance, and you just go in and get work done.
What's the square footage? Because it's not a small, it's a big venue.
No, it's about 14,000 square feet altogether. We have the whole second floor there. So.
Okay.
So there's 32 offices around the exterior.
Okay.
And then there's about 7,000 square feet of open co-working space. And then there's 4 meeting rooms of different sizes as well.
What were some of the must-haves when you were visiting these places?
So the feel, there's a certain feel that's not traditional office, as in, you can't have drop ceilings and fluorescent bulbs and just white walls and carpet squared. Feeling like you're not just going to a regular boring office is a definite must-have. We thought, honestly, that the kind of community togetherness of we're all going to work together was a must-have. We learned that was actually not the same in Midland as it is in other places. I mean, WeWork was ultimately one of the goals of WeWork was to be an extension of college life.
You're 100% right. Yes, that's what I was going to allude to. It's like they're essentially like dorms that just happen to have
desks. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, are people playing beer pong?
Totally.
Miami for sure. What you're alluding to is that was the sort of feel that you thought it was going to be versus when you brought it to Midland.
Right. I mean, that's what we saw everywhere.
Yeah.
In Dallas, whether it was WeWork or other brands, even we went to different brands, different types of places, and that was kind of the thought behind it. People thought that co-working had to have a cruise director that was like creating activities and fun, and because it was this extension of college life. But we learned pretty quickly that Midland wasn't interested in that. Midland was much more interested in growing up and like being professionals and just getting work done and making money. And so no one was really cared about the whole let's have bingo and beers or something like that.
The culture of startup culture.
The party culture.
The party culture is not. It's so far we try to do events, we try to do all kinds of stuff, and no one came. And it was just like, no. How quickly can I get an office? How can I start getting work done? That was the more of the vibe here.
So you said this was 2018. When exactly will you open the doors?
July 1st, 2019.
Okay.
Wow.
So July, and then you've got, let's say, 8-9 months before,
Everything shut down.
So what was the growth like leading up to the first quarter of 2020 versus what happened?
So part of that culture shift is that the offices went fast and first. And so, the open space, this idea of working in a shared open area where I can technically see over your shoulder if I try to, although that's creepy, don't do that. But so the offices were in demand, and we basically had filled the offices up in the first 6 months of 2019. And so we were full, but we were really slowly moving the needle on our workspace memberships, just the idea that you can come in and grab a cup of coffee and get to work at a table, bring a laptop, that kind of thing. And so we were really gearing up to start making a push in that direction and kind of change our pricing model, change our membership model a little bit, and then start advertising, marketing, pushing towards it. And we just hired a new manager. So we were ready to go. We had the offices full. We were ready to grow that side. And then we had big plans. We always wanted to be multi-site, and we're still not. Mm-hmm. But that was, since we were going to be the first ones here, we thought, well, let's just go ahead and become synonymous with it here. Let's just kind of,
take over the market.
Take over the market. This is an area, so many big companies don't understand Midland, Odessa because they strictly, when they decide where to expand to, right, they look at population.
Sure.
And I think it's fortunate that we're below a certain population threshold where these big companies like a WeWork or a Common Desk aren't trying to get into Midland because they don't understand that it's not just population, it's dollars per population. It's economic activity per population. And so they're like, okay, we're going to be first. Let's kind of become synonymous in this West Texas area with that. And we haven't expanded yet, but that was a goal. But then, things quickly changed. I mean, it was April, May, June. Almost every day was a gut punch.
Yeah.
Or like customers leaving, every day we'd come in and some office was just empty all of a sudden. It's just like, you'd at least tell us, we understand.
Yeah.
But it was just, there was so many gut punches, and it just basically, like, we went from full to empty. And it's like, okay, are we going to start over? Are we going to refill this? Are we going to relaunch this? Or not? At that time, we did have a lot of big companies based in other cities that just needed an office for an employee here.
Like a satellite.
A satellite office.
Okay, gotcha.
Exactly. And we were this solution all of a sudden of, you don't have to sign a 3 to 5 year lease. You don't have to find furniture. You don't even have to like make sure like some IT guy shows up to set up your internet connection. You can literally, there's this place now where we'll just get an invoice and we'll pay it, and they have everything they need for a workspace.
Gotcha.
So the good of that was that we sold quickly. We're at higher prices than we even are now. The bad of that is that, of course, their cutbacks are very tied to the price of oil. And that was one of the first easiest things to cut was the satellite office in Midland.
Right.
We were sitting in our desk at Houston, like, where can we save some money? Well,
So now that we're on the other end of the worst year and a half, 2 years of people's lives, what are some of the amenities and services you guys are offering now?
One of the funnest parts about the space is that you are able to come in and just like pull the trigger, let's go, start working. Because if you look around at different office spaces, or even, the barrier entry going to Starbucks, I mean, you got to wade through all these people and go and buy your coffee and figure out, is there an outlet next to this table? And, so anywhere you're going, it takes a little bit. If you're trying to rent an office, you are trying to figure out your internet and your electricity and your furniture and, oh gosh, we need a copier. All of these things are a barrier to entry to like start working.
batteries included.
Oh yeah.
Full service officing.
It's like plug and play.
Exactly. And so it really is a really cool thing that you're able to come in and just start working. So a lot of people kind of can't believe it. Like, we're full in offices right now, but even for our co-working space, they'll come in and be like, hey, I just need a space to work for the week. I'm in from out of town and I just need to have a place where I can land during meetings. And, is that something that y'all do? And we're like, absolutely. And they're like, well, can I start tomorrow? And I was like, you could start right now if you want to. Let's go. We just give them a Wi-Fi password and point them towards the coffee, and they're ready to rock and roll. And so
Nice.
We have everything from, that open co-working area where they're able to grab a desk or, a table with an outlet, or, even a couch if soft seating is their thing. We built out a place that we wanted to work at. Ultimately the guys were looking for a space to work at. So we built out this great cafe that has, a refrigerator so you can put your lunch in it, and then, pop it in the microwave whenever you're ready for lunch. And, we actually included a kegerator, and don't always have the keg full, but there is a kegerator there because
So I can bring my own keg.
you can. A couple pony kegs fit in there, so have a variety. But the whole idea was that, to build a space that we wanted to work from. And it really is nice to be able to come in and have a professional environment, but also a relaxed environment where you can get stuff done. So coffee's included, internet's included, and you can start your business just you coming in and co-working. And one of my favorite things is watching those businesses grow into, well, now I need an office.
Yeah.
Well, now I need a bigger office because I'm hiring an assistant. Well, now what do your team suites look like? And so being able to watch businesses grow in those ways are really exciting. And as much as we don't enjoy people growing out of us, it's also fun to see, businesses that come in and start with one office and then eventually go to 2 offices. And then they're like, man, we're looking at building out a whole floor in another building, which is, sad for us to see them go, but also so exciting to see that they've grown so much while they're in our space. So
Nice.
Yeah.
And y'all helped with that.
Exactly.
For those who haven't worked at a co-working space, like usually they're set up like a membership type of scenario.
Exactly.
It's almost like a gym membership, but for not working out, right? For working. So you talk about the different tiers from, you said like full on office space down to drop in.
Absolutely.
Right, yeah.
So everything from, a day rate where people can drop in and just work for the day. Our most popular co-working option is co-working with meeting rooms. And so we have a tier where people can work just co-working. We have 4 different meeting rooms. And some people just need a desk and that's it. But a lot of people, especially if they're working for a bigger company and their option was to either work from home or find a workspace in a co-working environment, or Starbucks, and heaven knows they're not getting a lot of work done there. So they come in and they're able to utilize the open space, but then they're also, when their boss comes in from out of town, they're able to grab a meeting room. And that's something that's super easy with our member app. They're able to just log in to their member portal and pick a conference room based on the size that they need for their meeting and go from there. And then we have basic, standard, and premium office sizes and a couple of team suites as well. So just whatever size is needed for your needs at that time, we're happy to make it work.
So what types of initiatives or programs or events do you have? And is it only member based or is some open to the public?
We've done both. We have private member events, and these are typically just mixers. This is where we utilize that kegerator.
Happy hours.
That sort of thing, and then open to the public too. And then we also have actually a new thing coming this year that we'd like to announce here.
Let's do it
for the first time,
All
if you
right.
don't mind.
Please, a drum roll. Go ahead.
Coming this spring, later, we're not exactly sure when, but we're partnering with Midland Development Corporation.
Okay.
And then we're bringing in the Chamber of Commerce, we're bringing in UTPB, Midland College, to create sort of this peer-to-peer founders, small business owners monthly event, and it's called Founders Blend.
Nice.
Yes.
Very cool.
So it's not a networking event per se, although you'll meet people there. We like to say it's a peer-to-peer group. It's almost like a way to support each other and know each other, and not necessarily in a, okay, let's get together and sell each other things. Mm-hmm. It's
Right.
let's get together because this is really hard. Like entrepreneurship is a difficult endeavor, and the more people you know that are doing it, one, that gives you energy. Mm-hmm. And then 2, it does ultimately become a type of networking that you do have resources you can reach out to or that can reach out to you. But it's not designed to be that first, because we've done networking groups in the past. And I say we personally, like, not Second Story, but Kelly and I, this isn't our first business and our first rodeo. And we've done the kind of traditional, let's network groups. And there's different ones. There's ones where you can have like one person per industry because you're supposed to like form this like group of
P&I groups,
referrals and such. And then there's others that are just like hey, let's all get together and meet each other and pass out business cards.
How many business cards can I hand out that night?
Exactly. It's almost more like a convention or something.
Right.
Yeah.
This is different. This is almost like if you're starting a new business, like you're gonna come meet all these entrepreneurs and all these founders. We're calling it Founders Blend so that founders can blend together. But if you're starting a new business or you've already started, you can meet all these other people that are doing the same thing, facing the challenges, and really just the hardness. I mean, being an entrepreneur isn't easy. I mean, what I tell people that are like thinking about getting into business is that once you're in it, the world really is trying to kill you. I mean, not like they're not trying to kill you,
Right.
but you're getting squeezed. Like your vendors really would love to charge you more at all times. And your customers would really love to pay you less at all times. And so there's this constant like push of like from both sides of putting you out of business, basically. Like it's a fight every day. And so we're trying to create this, and the Midland Development Corporation has been awesome. This was actually they came to us and said, hey, can we meet at your place? Can we start this thing? Can we do something for small business owners? And so they're playing a huge role of it. And we're really excited to be working with them and the chamber and the colleges and everyone else to like create this thing. It's going to be once a month in the mornings. We're going to have a ton of coffee. Everyone's going to show up first thing in the morning on a Wednesday morning, right?
Yep. Second Wednesday of every month.
We're going to have 2, I should let you talk about the logistics, but there'll be 2 businesses that basically present each day. And the presentation is not, I like to say it's not an advertisement, although you'll probably get more customers. Mm-hmm. It's not a pitch deck, although there'll be investors in the audience, and you might, we all need investment from time to time. Like you might find someone that way. It's more like here's what I'm doing. This is fun. Here's where I'm at now. Here's where I want to be in a year, and here's what I need to get there. That's kind of the design.
Letting
That's very cool.
And entrepreneurs speak into, I was there, and here's what I had success with, or, I had that same issue, and here's how I overcame it.
Yeah.
the issues we face as entrepreneurs on a daily basis are just immense. We talk regularly about, people who seem to just have so much more time than we do. And what is the difference? The difference is they have an 8 to 5 job, and then they go home and they're home.
Yeah.
And as an entrepreneur, that has not been our experience.
No.
Like we go home and we're trying to run payroll, and we go home and we're trying to crank out that marketing campaign or pay that vendor or whatever it is that has to be addressed before the end of the month. And, there are certain challenges, rewards and freedom, obviously, come with it. But it's a trade-off, and finding people who can be in your corner and be cheerleaders and who've walked that road before you is so important, we think.
How do we sign up? Sign up?
So foundersblend.com is just a landing page right now with an email address. Throw an email address in foundersblend.com, and we'll let you know as soon as we have a first date.
What kind of marketing tactics are you doing to get those continuous tours in, aka new clientele?
I think you've recently met our marketing partner, Answers Marketing.
Oh, Lauren.
So she has been a breath of fresh air as far as marketing goes for us. We just started looking for someone who could help with that arm of our business because I have a marketing background, but whenever you're doing all these other things on a daily basis, then trying to figure out how am I going to pitch this to someone and, what am I using to do that? That's a challenge. And also having someone who hasn't tried to market something before, that pair of fresh eyes is really helpful. So she's helping in that regard. And so, we're working on just a few things that social media really is great with. So doing reels that show, the walking up from the parking lot, and the doors that you're going through, just so that when people come up for the first time, they're not, walking in blind, so to speak.
What's
The
really
whole
great
location is very Instagrammable. So.
Oh, yes. Thank you. I think we have a lot of Instagram followers, or at least I would consider it a lot for what we do.
Sure.
Because we're not a consumer brand.
Right.
We're not food, alcohol.
Right. Apparel.
Apparel. I mean, we're offices. It's boring. So how do we have followers? And I think just because the pictures are pretty.
It's because it's beautiful, yeah.
What's been great about having Lauren was we were needing some marketing help, but she was a member. So she actually came to us and showed up to be a customer. And what's neat about that also is that now as she's doing it, she's able to kind of speak as a first-hand experience.
Right.
So when she says that she loves working there, like she literally works there and loves working there. So that's helpful too.
So, Kelly, let's talk about easy cheesy.
In the bio that I sent you, said something along the lines of, entrepreneurship is an addictive drug. And I grew up in a family that did not do the whole entrepreneurial thing. My grandfather is a builder, but so I guess he is an entrepreneur. But that wasn't anything on my radar. And I meet Brian in college, and he is just like, my grandfather was an entrepreneur. He owned a grocery store, and his dad owned a sewing machine manufacturing company. And, we talked for years about different companies that we would run, or we could do this. And so he's in the middle of building out Second Story. And I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. I'm going to do it too. And he's like, what? What is happening? And I had a friend who went to an anniversary party in Dallas. It was right as these automated photo stands are coming out onto the market. This photographer, who was actually the host of the anniversary party, had one from a manufacturer to demo basically. And she had the time of her life. And she comes home and she's like, we've got to do this. And so we were like, well, we have this space. When we first started, we thought we would do just events every weekend. And thank goodness we do not do events every weekend.
Rough life.
But we had a space. And so I was like, worst case scenario, if it fails, we'll just leave it up there and, people will use it occasionally or whatever. And so we end up creating a automated photo stand company. And so we buy this photo stand and start Easy Cheesy Photos in July of 2019. They had opened on July 1st, and we got our business incorporation papers on July 31st.
Oh, wow.
So we're doing it all. And it was dumb. In hindsight, we should definitely not do.
Overreaching there?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. We were spread thin. in that season. But it has been a really fun adventure. So Easy Cheesy is an automated photo stand that you can rent for a grad party, for a wedding, for a shower, or birthday party. And it's a really cool way to capture memories for your party, and it's a lot of fun. And you throw a glass of wine in there, and it is a lot of fun. So we will create custom overlays that are automatically on every image, and then the user captures their photo, and they can airdrop, email, or text it to themselves, and it happens as long as you're on Wi-Fi really quickly. And it's so fun.
We were at the Far West 5-year anniversary party last night, and we walked in and saw the branding on the back. But had I not seen the branding, I was like, are they like taking temperatures of people here for COVID? Because that's what it kind of, it was like those it's about the size of like the standing temperature things. I was like, oh man, they're serious in here. And then but it was super fun. People were like,
I mean, it was packed.
There was almost a line. People were like, are you next? And I was like, the one thing I really loved about it was you could text the photo to yourself. So we did that. I got the text and I clicked the link and I was like, wait, you can just look at all the other photos that people taken that night.
The whole event.
And I was oh man, that could get dangerous.
Well, I bet the
We can turn that automation off if we need to, but yes.
Whoa, all right. What has everybody else been up to? As a marketer, the one thing I loved is the fact that it's a lead generation machine.
Yes.
It just captures email addresses and phone. It was I almost get like, man, they probably don't even want me to airdrop this thing. Do you have any of these that are just like at permanent locations?
No, we have talked previously there have been a couple of companies that have asked if we sell them, and we don't sell them, but there are certain companies that it absolutely would have been well to have one there permanently at their location, but there aren't any in town that I know of. You have tapped into something that we have been reluctant to really market it, but it absolutely does have the capabilities for a company that wanted to gather a whole bunch of data. And
I wanted one. I was last night. I was like, all right, how do I get a hold of these? Because this has infinite possibility.
Yes, no, absolutely. So in that overlay, you can of course build in, your marketing into those, those overlays. And so as people are sharing them, that's marketing right there.
Yeah.
If you have your logo on there, or even your company name, but then on the back end, you do have all of those captured data points that we do not give out to clients unless they pay for them.
Wait, I can't buy your lists?
You cannot.
All right. Well, podcast is over. How do businesses, if they want to rent a photo stand for their event or party or something like that, how do they get hold of you?
EasyCheesyPhotos.com.
Oh, that's an easy, cheesy URL. Good for you.
Yeah.
How do you guys see co-working spaces evolving over the next 5 to 10 years?
It's an interesting question. I think so. Co-working spaces in big cities or co-working spaces in Midland, and I think the answer to both is that co-working is very much a great place for young companies. I mean, there's always big companies that have satellite offices, and that's a big part of the business. But it's these smaller companies and these entrepreneurs, and frankly, Midland, in my opinion, and I haven't lived in all the cities, so full disclosure, I've not lived in every city in America. But I think that Midland has to be the best city in America for entrepreneurs and just business starting. There's just something different here. There's a lot of something different here. Then they all add up to this great business startup environment. There's so much access to capital. Mm-hmm. The people are so friendly. I was watching your interview with Brandy Bell, and she spent a lot of time just talking about, moving here, and just the people are helpful. Mm-hmm. And helpful, friendly people with capital, and a very just business, pro hustle. Like everyone is just, what are you working on? What are you hustling on? So that this is a great place for entrepreneurs. And I think that's the future of co-working is somehow tied to that, is their needs and what they have. I mean, and a lot of people think Midland is only oil and gas, and it's right. I mean, we have ownership in at least 5 different small companies, and none of them are in oil and gas. And 5 is too many, by the way. I'm not recommending anyone do that. But when Kelly says like the addiction of starting companies, like So, but it's not all oil and gas, and we have oil and gas customers in Second Story, but we also have creatives, like we said before, but then random things. I mean, you just wouldn't believe all the different
Attorneys,
industries.
CPAs, trucking.
Yeah, it's really the future of co-working depends on their needs and how they react. And I think this whole work from home and work remotely, it's funny how all the technology was there to do. Not everyone has to come to the office in 2019,
Right.
But big companies were so against it, and then they were forced to do it. And then there was this big pendulum swift to well, you never go to an office. And I don't think it's going to land in either place now. I think we can see that we have the technology to work from anywhere, but also that's lonely. And it can be distracting. I know when I work from home, I eat a lot more. There's just being home. There's also chores that need to be done. There's a whole thing but it can be great at times. And I think as a place to get away from work at home is a good option, but also as a place to get away from corporate, boring offices is an option.
Right.
And then mainly it's just this full service thing for the people that have an idea or they've already got it started, but they just need a place to work, and they figured out that I need to be working in my business and not on the peripheral of buying furniture and setting up internet and finding office space and hiring a lawyer and negotiating a lease, and I just need to walk in and get to work. That's the most important thing right now is to get some work done.
Yeah.
And being around other people that are doing that brings energy.
Are there any plans to expand in 2023 at all?
We actually will hopefully in a few months, or maybe sooner, but we're going to take on an additional floor in our building. So the 8th floor is coming open, and we want to add a bunch of offices up there. We're also going to kind of expand our product lineup. So right now we have, we talk about co-working, meeting, and officing, and this is going to be more executive officing. So we're going to kind of add an exec brand of larger offices and more, I don't know, when you think of a Regus or, more Regus than WeWork. If those are the two big brands.
Sure, Spectrum. Okay.
Of the spectrum of short-term leasing,
Yeah.
right? You have the WeWork, as we described.
Postage stamps.
Yes. And then you have the Regus, big boy offices. And so we're going to kind of hopefully go up market a little bit by adding offices on an additional floor in our existing space downtown.
All right.
Nice.
And there's some really cool offices up there.
Yes.
There is the corner office, right there overlooking Centennial Park. And I mean,
No one's ever let
I
me
bet
go
it's-
that high up there. So
let me tell you, it's pretty sexy up there.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
So if you're you're ready to step up your office space, reach out.
That's right. We have all shapes and sizes.
Well, listen, we really appreciate your time. And again, check out if you're in need of just drop in, or you just need a desk for the day or the week, or you're looking for office space.
Or event space.
Yeah, if you need a place to have your
Absolutely.
bachelor party, maybe. I don't know.
Not that.
Oh, okay.
I don't.
I tried.
Your corporate party.
Yeah, your corporate party.
Very
Your
tame
well-behaved
party.
party.
So let me tell you, those corporate Christmas parties get a little.
Yes.
Got to imagine.
I bet.
That is the
That's where you don't want easy cheesy stands. I would have to imagine.
No,
Okay.
no, you don't. No, you
Yeah.
don't. But
Midland gets crazy.
yeah.
yes, it does.
Reach out to Second Story, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye.